उसको जहां जरूरत पड़ी उसको उन्होंने उसकी मरम्मत करी, उसको बढ़ाया, उसको एक्सपैंड किया। चाहे इंग्लैंड ने किया, चाहे अमेरिका ने किया, चाहे फ्रांस ने किया, जर्मनी ने किया। पर प्रजातंत्र में जब से संसदीय प्रणाली ले आई है और जिन देशों में राष्ट्रपति प्रणाली भी है, वो अमेरिका और फ्रांस हैं, ऐसा काम नहीं हुआ। क्या सरकार जवाब दे सकती है? पहले औचित्य की बात करता हूं। आप में से बहुत लोगों ने को जानकारी है, यूके की पार्लियामेंट वेस्टमिंस्टर उसी जगह पर है जहां 1215 में बनी थी, 1108 साल पहले। और सन 1834 में आग लगने से ध्वस्त हुई थी। उसको 1840 से दोबारा बनाया, जो मौजूदा इमारत है, पहले लकड़ी की थी। 1876 में संपन्न हुआ और 539 साल से लगभग 550 हो गए। वहीं पे यूके की संसद है। अमेरिका में सिविल वॉर के बाद यूएस कांग्रेस की स्थापना कैपिटल हिल में की गई थी। वो 1792 में हुई थी। 531 बरस हो गए। उन देशों के पास भी पैसा है, तकनीक है, उनकी भी ख्वाहिश है, पर वो महत्व समझते हैं स्थान का। फ्रांस, मुझे नहीं मालूम मैं आप में से कितने लोगों ने ये सब स्थान देखे हैं। वहां की जो संसद है वो पैलेस बर्बन में है, 1728 से। सैकड़ों बरसों से, बहुत मिसालें मेरे पास और हैं। जर्मनी की है, हिटलर के समय में राइक्सटाग, जो बुंडेस्टाग है, जल गया था, जला दिया गया था। उसके बाद जर्मनी का बंटवारा हुआ था। द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद उनकी राजधानी बॉन चली गई थी, बर्लिन भी बंटवारे में गई थी। जब जर्मन रीयूनिफिकेशन हुआ, उसके बाद दोबारा बॉन से राजधानी वापस बर्लिन आई और पुरानी जो जगह थी उसी पे दोबारा, उसी स्थान पे, उन्हीं नक्शों पे उन्होंने दोबारा बनाई इमारत। और ये दुनिया के दूसरे जो महाद्वीप हैं जहां प्रजातंत्र का सम्मान होता है, वहां भी यही है। पर अब इमारत बन चुकी है। मैं ये भी यहां पे कहना चाहता हूं कि पहले भी जो बनी थी, हमारी तो इनके तुलना में बहुत कम आयु की है और बड़ी मजबूत इमारत, जिसको आप सबने देखा। उससे देश का एक संविधान ही नहीं है वहां बनाया गया। इतिहास जुड़ा है भारत की आजादी का। वो केवल एक इमारत नहीं है। भारत के लिए, भारत की जनता के लिए। अब ये कहना आसान है कि अंग्रेजों के वक्त की बनी थी। किसका पैसा था? भारत का। कहां के कारीगर थे? हिंदुस्तान के। कहां के मजदूर थे? हिंदुस्तान के। ये पत्थर जो रेड सैंडस्टोन है, कहां का था? हिंदुस्तान का। दिल्ली से 40 किलोमीटर दूर पे जो अरावली के पहाड़ है, वहां से पत्थर था। तो सरकार को ये बातें जो उठाई जा रही हैं आज, उसका जवाब तो देना पड़ेगा। दूसरा संवैधानिक प्रश्न है, क्या है भारत की संसद? भारत के संविधान के आर्टिकल 79 में स्पष्ट रूप से उल्लेखित है। मैंने कल इस पे टिप्पणी करी थी, आप में से कुछ ने देखा होगा। संसद भारत की, पार्लियामेंट, वो कौन बनाते हैं? राष्ट्रपति, काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट्स राज्यसभा और लोकसभा, बस 3। भारत के महामहिम राष्ट्रपति, क्योंकि हमारा एक जो संविधान है और जो उसकी स्वरूप है, तो उसमें राज्यों का एक अपना अधिकार है। तो पहला सदन संसद का राज्यसभा है, जिसमें राज्यों के चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि बैठते हैं, भारतीय गणतंत्र के, और दूसरा लोकसभा है। केवल भारत के राष्ट्रपति को यह अधिकार है कि संसद के सत्र को बुलाया जाए। वो आर्टिकल 85 में स्पष्ट रूप से उल्लेखित है। और आपको मालूम भी होगा, पर मैं कहना चाहता हूं, केवल महामहिम राष्ट्रपति भारत के सदन बुलाने का संवैधानिक अधिकार रखते हैं, और हर सदस्य को, चाहे वो लोकसभा का सदस्य है या राज्यसभा को, उसको लाल रंग का सम्मन मिलता है। सम्मन घोषणा नहीं होती, नोटिफिकेशन नहीं होती, हर मेंबर को, हर सदस्य को निजी रूप से राष्ट्रपति का सम्मन आता है कि इस तारीख से इस तारीख तक सत्र बुलाया गया। और केवल राष्ट्रपति को अधिकार है सत्र खत्म होने पे उसको प्रोरोग करने का, किसी और को नहीं। ना वो लोकसभा के अध्यक्ष करते हैं, वो एडजर्न करते हैं, राज्यसभा के चेयरमैन एडजर्न करते हैं। प्रोरोग करना, उसकी नोटिफिकेशन होती है गजट की, राष्ट्रपति। लोकसभा को भंग करना, चुनाव बुलाना, वो अधिकार केवल राष्ट्रपति का। तो ये संवैधानिक रूप में उचित नहीं है कि राष्ट्रपति को इतने बड़े फैसले से बाहर रखा जाए। दुर्भाग्य की बात है कि पूर्व राष्ट्रपति रामनाथ कोविंद जी को वो सब अवसर नहीं मिला, सम्मान मिलना चाहिए। अब वो नींव पत्थर रखा गया, उसमें नहीं बुलाए, हालांकि रखना उनको चाहिए था। अब उद्घाटन हो रहा है, उसमें भी नहीं। तो एक सैद्धांतिक बात है। हमारा मत है कि संविधान का सम्मान नहीं हो रहा और ये न्यायोचित नहीं है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को, राष्ट्रपति जी को आग्रह करके सम्मान से बुलाना चाहिए। ये बात भी अच्छी नहीं, संदेश अच्छा नहीं कि पहली बार कोविंद जी थे। कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष ने आज इस पे अपना कुछ बयान दिया है, और अब एक हमारी अनुसूचित जाति की ट्राइबल राष्ट्रपति हैं, महामहिम, उनको भी दूर रखा जाए। ये क्या संदेश है इसमें? But I have said it's a serious matter, and we are sharing our position as Indian National Congress. This has been a matter which has been agitating the minds of many people who have been associated with the institution of Indian Parliament, who understand and respect the Constitution of the Republic of India, and who also feel that it's not constitutionally correct to take major decision about the Parliament of India, excluding the head of the Parliament, the President of India, from the decision making, from the foundation stone laying, now for the inauguration. As I mentioned in Hindi, Article 79 makes it crystal clear that the Parliament of India comprises of the President of India, who's the head of the Parliament, and the two houses. First, the permanent house, the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States. The Constitution uses the word the Council of States, Rajya Sabha. And then the House of the People, the Lok Sabha. So that is what why Council of States? Because India is a union of states. And the chairman of the Rajya Sabha is number 2 in the warrant of precedence, the Honorable Vice President of India. The Lok Sabha Speaker chairs the Lok Sabha. All decisions concerning the summoning of the Parliament are vested in the Rashtrapati, the President of India, under Article 85. is not a gazette notification. Yes, that is there for every session of Parliament. But from the first time since 1952, each member of Parliament gets an individual summoned by name from the Rashtrapati, from the President, to attend the Parliament session. Once the session concludes, the constitutional power and authority to declare the session closed or prorogued vests in the President of India. You all are also aware, I didn't say in Hindi, that the year starts with the joint session of the Parliament. The joint session is addressed by the President of India. And the President is flanked by whom? In the central hall. On the right side of the President is the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States, who is the Vice President. And on the left hand is the Speaker of the House of the People, the Lok Sabha. The leader of the House of the People, the Lok Sabha, who is the Prime Minister, and the leader of the Council of States, the Rajya Sabha, are not seated on the dais, but in the pit of the hall, that is the central hall. So that should be very clear as to what the Parliament is. The Honorable Prime Minister is the leader of the Lok Sabha. He has every right to be there, respectfully so, for any major event. That's a requirement. But the constitutional scheme of things is very clear. Parliament does not comprise of one house. And that's why the framers of the Constitution have put in place this scheme, which should never be violated, should have never been. I've given the examples, one or two colleagues came later, that no democracy in the world has ever done this. Our Parliament, the present structure, when the decision was taken to spend this huge amount during the COVID pandemic, that, as I have said, the jury is still out whether there is any justification. As the population have increased, other countries' population has also increased. But for hundreds and hundreds of years, other democracies have respected the institution. As I mentioned, that the British Parliament, same place, the Westminster, has been there since the year 1215, for more than 1100 years, 1108 to be precise. Destroyed in fire, as I mentioned, in 1834, rebuilt. It took them 36 years to have this grand, majestic Westminster, which we all see. And for 549 years, that's where the British Parliament is. Is it anybody's case that their population has decreased and not increased? America, after the Civil War, the US Congress is on the Capitol Hill since 1792. France, Palais Bourbon, the parliament is there since 1728. We'd like to hear from the government what was wrong with what India had. Made by the people of India, Indian money. History is history. Indian material, Indian sandstone. It was not that it was not the largesse or generosity of the colonial rulers. Who built it? It was ours. Why then this was done? But more important than that is the constitutional position which I have given in detail. It's also unfortunate that we had a Dalit president in Ramnath Kovindji, who should have also been given that honor. He is the head of parliament. And now we have a tribal president, that too a tribal woman president, a respected president, Draupadi Murmu ji. So we would still urge or tell the government, tell the Prime Minister, that this constitutional propriety should be kept in mind, and the President of India should be given her rightful position as the Rashtrapati to do the honors, to inaugurate. For whatever reasons news come up. Thought through you, we will share our concern and the position as it is in our constitution. I have nothing further to add. I have just come to speak to you about this. If there is any other question, if it is related or otherwise, I'll respond.
आप लोग मांग कर रहे हैं कि राष्ट्रपति जी को आमंत्रित करना चाहिए उद्घाटन के मौके पर और उन्हीं से उद्घाटन करवाया जाना चाहिए, लेकिन अगर ऐसा नहीं होता है और अगर लोकसभा अध्यक्ष ने जिस तरह प्रधानमंत्री को आमंत्रित किया और उम्मीद यही है कि प्रधानमंत्री उद्घाटन करेंगे, क्या कांग्रेस के सांसद, कांग्रेस के नेता जाएंगे कार्यक्रम में या आप लोग बाइकआउट कर सकते हैं?
देखिए, बुनियादी मांग की बात नहीं है, सरकार को सलाह दे रहे हैं कि संविधान क्या कहता है। अब सरकार से सुनना चाहते हैं कि वो संविधान को मानते हैं नहीं। जहां तक आपने बात करी सरकार की और पक्ष की, संसद जो है सरकार की नहीं है, भारत की है। संसद के दो कक्ष हैं जो संविधान में उल्लेखित है, मैंने समझाया। एक काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट्स कही जाती है जो राज्यों का है, उसको राज्यसभा कहते हैं, और दूसरा लोकसभा। और दोनों सदनों के अलग अलग अध्यक्ष हैं। विशेष दर्जा क्योंकि राज्यसभा का है, वो परमानेंट सदन है, और उसके कारण भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति उसके अध्यक्ष हैं। लोकसभा के अध्यक्ष माननीय स्पीकर साहब हैं। लोकसभा के जो नेता है, जिस दल का बहुमत है, वो देश के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री होते हैं। जैसे आज हमारे जो भी प्रधानमंत्री है, उनके दल को या गठबंधन को लोकसभा का बहुमत जिसका होगा, वो भारत के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री होते हैं। पर वो संसद नहीं होते। संसद, जैसा मैंने बताया, राष्ट्रपति और दो कक्ष, ये दो हाउसेस बनाते हैं। तो उससे अब स्पष्ट है। अब तो पहले तो सरकार का अपनी जो मर्जी हमारा सरकार की बनाए, उस पर किसी को कोई आपत्ति नहीं, पर भारत की संसद है, और भारत की संप्रभुता जो है लोगों में है, और वो कहां निवास करती है? भारत की संसद के अंदर। तो सॉवरेनिटी ऑफ इंडिया, which is vested in the people of India, rests in the institution called the Parliament of India. That's why it is important. अब तो आप मुझसे एक सवाल कर रहे हैं, पहले तो सरकार बताए ना कि राष्ट्रपति को बुला रहे हैं, नहीं बुला रहे। चलिए अब आप।
On this question itself, you know whether the Congress has decided to attend.
Listen, Congress has expressed its concern as a principal national opposition party. We feel strongly that the constitutional propriety should be maintained, and the Honorable President, who is the head of the Parliament, should be requested by the government to inaugurate. The Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, has every right to be there. We are only pointing out to what is constitutionally correct.
सर, जैसा कि आपने अभी बताया कि पिछले राष्ट्रपति रामनाथ जी जो कि दलित थे, उनको नहीं बुलाया गया था, अभी एक ट्राइबल राष्ट्रपति, उनको भी, क्या आपको लगता है कि यही कारण है, ऊंच नीच का कारण है कि उनको बुलाया नहीं गया?
मैं ये नहीं कहता। मैंने कहा ये भी एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात है कि ऐसे समय में, जब हमको खुशी है इस बात की कि कौन हमारे राष्ट्रपति थे, इन्हीं के कार्यकाल में बने, इसी सरकार के पहले भी और आज भी, पर कोई कारण नहीं है कि उनको ना बुलाया जाता। आज देश की राष्ट्रपति को, महामहिम को, ये सम्मान ना दिया जाना संवैधानिक रूप में उचित नहीं।
सर, एक और कसौटी पे है संवैधानिक प्रावधान, जिसको लेके राजनीतिक पार्टियों का रुख सामने आ रहा है कि दिल्ली सर्विसेज को लेके जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट था, उसको निगेट करने के लिए सरकार ने ऑर्डिनेंस लाया। कांग्रेस पार्टी एज ए प्रिंसिपल ऑपोजिशन इस इशू को कैसे लेके आगे बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि ये भी एक संवैधानिक जो मूल्य है उसके ऊपर प्रहार माना जा रहा है।
देखिए, इसमें भी एक अजीब विरोधाभास सामने आया है। जब भारत के उच्चतम न्यायालय का निर्णय आया था, कांग्रेस पार्टी ने उसका स्वागत किया था। आज भी हमारा वही मत है कि माननीय उच्चतम न्यायालय का निर्णय सही था, और जो संविधान के प्रावधान हैं, जो राष्ट्रीय राजधानी दिल्ली से संबंधित हैं, जिसपे बड़े विस्तार से सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपना मत व्यक्त किया है, वो भी संवैधानिक पीठ ने उसको माना जाना चाहिए, सरकार को सम्मान करना चाहिए। अब सरकार एक तरफ से ऑर्डिनेंस लाई है, दूसरी तरफ से सरकार ने एक रिव्यू के लिए, पुनर्विचार के लिए भी कागज सुप्रीम कोर्ट में पिटीशन डाल रहे हैं। वो भी शायद पहली बार हो रहा है कि ऑर्डिनेंस भी आ रहा है और उसके साथ साथ रिव्यू पिटीशन भी हो रही है, क्योंकि अब ये विषय संवैधानिक पीठ उच्चतम न्यायालय सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो अपना उनका फैसला है, उसको अगर चुनौती सरकार की है, उस पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट की संवैधानिक पीठ उस पे अपना मत देगी। It's very clear that there was a constitutional bench, it's not just the Supreme Court, a constitutional bench which had come out with a very detailed judgment, and also its interpretation of the constitutional provisions and the rights of the states and the elected governments. It was a larger question. It was not only limited, those parts of the judgment were not confined, in my view, only to Delhi. That was about India being a country which is federal in character and unitary in spirit. India being a union of states, the rights of the states have to be borne in mind. The Supreme Court also talked about the diversity, the power of the elected representatives in the states, and that being the part what is vested in them through the Constitution as part of the basic structure of the Constitution of the Republic, which is inviolable. The government has chosen to do two things which contradict each other. There's an ordinance. Under the Constitution, the government has that authority to bring out an ordinance. But also government has decided, as reported, to file a review petition. Since this is a constitutional bench judgment, it's only the constitutional bench which will revisit, and we will await what the constitutional bench decides in this matter, and we leave it at that. Let's cross the river when it comes. I think the Congress and the other parties, because I'll be very honest with you, I would expect that the Congress leadership, the Congress president, and who is also the leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha, and the leader of the House in Lok Sabha, along with the leaders of all other political parties, will discuss this matter as and when the session is convened.
आनंद जी एक
But
प्रश्न है
we do hope, since it's constitutional bench and the government has gone back there, so hopefully the Supreme Court will come out with its view.
इसी से रिलेटेड हाँ नहीं हम राष्ट्रपति Sir, just continuing the reply that you gave, it's contradicting what the Delhi Congress is saying.
I'm not getting in. I said the Supreme Court judgment, I'm not getting drawn there.
Sir,
The Congress party
is
is
not
position.
supporting the Aam Aadmi Party.
I'm not getting
where
there.
it's asking for
I am
support
talking, I am
for the-
limiting my comment from this podium only on what the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court said, and the Indian National Congress official position was welcoming the Supreme Court judgment. I shall not go
But
beyond
then
that.
you should support the Aam Aadmi Party if they're
No,
asking for
that-
support.
that-
No, sir, it's
that-
a contradictory stance.
That's your advice. Thank you.
Anand ji-
Constitution is beyond one political party.
So you're not
Please.
supporting-
No.
आनंद जी, ये पहली मर्तबा नहीं है जब संसदीय परंपराएं टूटी हैं। पिछले कुछ समय से
आपका प्रश्न करिए।
सर, मैं प्रश्न कर रही हूँ।
ये
जिस
तो
तरह से
फिर
राष्ट्रपति को आप बोल रहे हैं कि इसमें आमंत्रित करना चाहिए, लगातार संसदीय परंपराएं टूट रही हैं। 100 साल पुरानी पार्टी है, प्रमुख विपक्षी
नहीं, आपका देखिए,
क्या
आप
करिएगा? क्योंकि आपने कहा कि
आप प्रश्न करना चाहती हैं या मैं यहाँ स्कूल में आया हूँ? आप प्रश्न करिए, आप प्रश्न नहीं कर रही, आप
सर, मेरा प्रश्न
आप प्रवचन कर रही हैं। धन्यवाद। कोई और प्रश्न हो किसी का तो बताएं। जी, आपने प्रश्न नहीं किया, धन्यवाद। नहीं नहीं, आपने प्रश्न नहीं किया।
आनंद जी
सवाल करना चाहिए था। हाँ, बताओ।
आप इससे इतर कांग्रेस का जो विदेश विभाग है उसके भी प्रमुख हैं। प्रधानमंत्री 2-3 देशों के दौरे पर हैं और जिस तरह से उनका स्वागत वहां पे हो रहा है, बीजेपी पूरा ब्रांड कर रही है, कह रहे हैं कि ऐसा तो कभी नहीं हुआ था। प्रधानमंत्री को जिस तरह से आशातीत सफलता मिल रही है विदेशी जमीन पर,
भारत के प्रधानमंत्री को, जब जो भी भारत के प्रधानमंत्री हैं विदेश की धरती पर गए, उनका स्वागत हुआ है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री विदेश के दौरे पर है, हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री हैं, उनका स्वागत होना चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
Sir, will you boycott the inauguration of Parliament?
I think I am very clear. I have raised a fundamental question about the Constitution and the constitutional propriety. The Congress President, Shri Mallikarjun Kharge ji, has also made a statement through his tweet today. This is the official position as of now. Let's see what the government has to say on constitutional propriety and respect to the head of the parliament, that's the Rashtrapati. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
परसों Amazon प्राइम ऑफर में लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन लिया।
कल वाली प्राइम ऑफर में ब्लूटूथ स्पीकर्स मंगवाए और आज फैशन पर मस्त ऑफर्स मिल रही है। ये ड्रेस ऑर्डर कर रही हूँ।
हर दिन प्राइम ऑफर्स, फ्री 1 डे डिलीवरी, ब्लॉकबस्टर एंटरटेनमेंट, Amazon प्राइम, सच में टू मच।
It's better to be known by your failures in my profession than to be known by your successes. Every intelligence agency's nightmare is that there is a mole. How many of us know that in Kargil, the BSF was manning the heights and not the army? Mr. Morarji Desai, he told Zia-ul Haq, we know about Kahuta. We handed over that tape, Musharraf talking to General Aziz Khan. The Pakistan army finds Kashmir as a useful tool to retain supremacy in Pakistan. 2006, Bombay bomb blast. We did nothing. 2008, that horror of Mumbai, we did nothing. You know, we've never ever retaliated in the manner that we should have. The message must reach those who take decisions there. Like Balakot would have hurt them because it's the message that is important. Uri was another message that was important. We have the ability to do it, and we will do it, and we will do it again. When this Kargil review committee was going on and coming towards the end, this senior officer comes to me and says, what you're saying is right, but you'll have to take the rap. They're hilarious movies. You only see them as a comedy, it's okay. If it is an operation that you go and suborn that girl, it's different. But if he does it on his own, he'll be shot if he does that.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. What is a spy like? Is an RAW officer somewhat like what Salman Khan was in Ek Tha Tiger? Or something like Akshay Kumar in Baby? Or is an RAW agent somewhat like Alia Bhatt in Razi? Is the Bollywood depiction of R&AW very accurate, somewhat accurate, or totally different? To answer these questions, we have in our studios former Chief of the Research and Analysis Wing, Mr. Vikram Sood, who retired as a career intelligence officer in 2003 after 31 years in the R&AW. Mr. Sood is an advisor at the Observer Research Foundation and has authored 2 books, The Unending Game, a former R&AW chief's insights into espionage, and The Ultimate Goal. Mr. Su, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. My team has been wanting to have you on this show for a long time, and I'm glad that you found time to come to the studio here in Delhi and talk to us. I will begin with your books and then get to the meatier stuff after that. So, The Unending Game, in this one, it was very interesting, especially the Kashmir parts, for some of the stuff which you don't speak about, but you hint, and this one about narratives, the ultimate goal. So for viewers, listeners, do buy this book, The Unending Game, and the other one is The Ultimate Goal. Both are available on the net. You can just buy this or in bookshops. So tell me, Mr. Sood, how difficult was it to actually post-retirement to come out and write about your life? You haven't written so much. It's not a personal kind of a story. It's more like, a professional point of view. So was it difficult to get down to doing this?
It was, because I'm in service, you're used to writing short notes. You write the higher up you go, you have a 1-pager or a page and a half of the PM. From there to graduate to writing articles first, which I did in the Hindustan Times and other papers. Then I moved on to bigger essays and journals. Then one day somebody suggested to me, I think, that why don't you do a book on the basis of all your articles? I said, no, that's not really interesting, because those are time-bound things, Their relevance is over 3 months or 4 months after I've written. So there has to be something more. Then she said, why don't you write a book on the intelligence? I said, I can't write a book on RAW. I won't be able to do it. It's not my belief that I should write. But I actually gave the idea of the narrative story first. I said, let's do that. Then she said, no, I don't think we should do a book which is based on your forte, on your expertise, on your knowledge. So then I thought of the Unending Game, where I would talk of intelligence as a concept, as a profession, and a good profession, but not talk about RAW really, except when it is relevant to us, to the chapter or to the topic.
I've attended book events. I've even co-hosted one of the events for The Unending Game, and I attended one of your book events on The Ultimate Goal. I've also heard you speaking in Washington, D.C. at the Heritage Foundation, and I've always found that you rarely speak about your years in the RAW. You speak about intelligence as a concept, like you mentioned in your book too. So is that your training, not to talk about your years in the RAW?
It is. And I think it's also my personal inclination not to, you're told not to reveal secrets. You're told not to brag, because it's better to be known by your failures in my profession than to be known by your successes.
Explain that. Yeah.
I tell you why. Because if we have succeeded in, let's say, breaking a terrorist ring, okay, and we're tom-tom about it. Now the other side knows that they've broken this ring. How do they know? So they do a back check. Where did they go wrong? And then the chances are they will discover that was their weakness. We don't want them to know that this is how we got it. So if you make a mistake, people talk about it, it's all right. We take it on the jaw and move on.
So I've seen that, when there is an accusation made about RAW, when there is something talk about intelligence failure or anything like that, there's no spokesperson of the RAW. Nobody comes out and says, hey, we didn't do wrong. No. Yes, we went wrong here. This is misinformation about us. Nothing like that. It just remains this shadowy thing nobody knows about. Why?
It's been our custom or our system that don't engage. Because if you engage, then you're going to be having to answer more questions. The more you engage, naturally there will be cross-questioning, cross-examining sort of thing but this happened then, and how do you relate it to this? So don't get into a dialogue and let the mystery remain. Let it remain with a question mark, then try and solve it. But, you know, when things like Kargil Review Committee happen, when you are expected to give evidence and defend, then it's a little different. Then you have to say it more or less openly that this is what happened, this is not what happened. And how many of us know that in Kargil, the BSF was manning the heights till 1982 and not the army. LOC heights, the upper heights of north of Kargil and north of Dras. In 1982, that system was taken over by the army. But they used to pull down their troops in October and send them back in March. The BSF stayed there even when the temperature was 65 minus Celsius. Those days when the equipment wasn't what it is now. So it was very strenuous. Now, you have a Pakistan which is fretting after 1971. He is looking for something. And Musharraf must have noticed this. Or others must have noticed this. In fact, they had prepared a plan and Benazir Bhutto turned it down.
सोचो एक ऐसी जगह हो जहां सुकून ही सुकून हो. स्वर्ग ऐसी जगह है जहां हमेशा दिल लगा रहे.
हमारे फर्लैंग को घर की तरह.
Furniture so good, you never want to leave home. Rent it, buy it, own it your way. Furlenco, great homes start with great furniture.
Adventure is a whim away. Roads or no roads, you're always set on your way. Clutching power on every drive. The new face of SUVs is made to match your stride.
Back for these.
Presenting Franks, the shape of new.
She said, what if the Indians react? What will you do? To which Musharraf didn't have an adequate answer and they shelved it. But they resurrected it in 99.
This is what General Musharraf or the Pakistani always have done, which is go in, but no plan further.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So every war that they have fought was that कूद पड़ो, उसके बाद होगा वो देखेंगे बाद में. I mean, even if you read Musharraf's book, it's like that. It's this bravado of jumping in and somebody will take care of the mess later.
Yeah. It is the sort of self-acclaimed superiority. Okay, you know, we are Punjabi fighters. वो तो बानी है.
Yeah, what is this thing about Indians being baniyas? And so look down upon them?
Look down upon them.
But why should you?
I think it comes out from the pre-partition days, where the moneylenders and the shopkeepers were all Hindus, mostly. And the Muslims weren't there. So they would, in other trades and agriculture and so on and so forth. And he was the moneylender, the Mahajan, and so on and so forth. So that kind of thing is that, you know, he's not as good as I am, but he's just lucky. He's got more money.
That they're vegetarians and they are baniyas.
Baniyas.
This is a.
Therefore they don't have strength.
Strength.
Like we have the warrior strength. We are the warrior class. Plus
that we are of Arabic descent.
Arabic, and plus the British definition of the Muslim soldier as the warrior class, the military mind.
So let's come back to Kargil, which you were talking about, that the BSF didn't de-induct and the army was doing that, and that is the loophole that they saw. Now, everybody knows about, or some people at least know about how when Kargil happened, we were caught off guard. When and it was the so tell us now, why should I say anything? You tell us what happened. Was there intelligence failure?
I tell you, in October 1998, the RAW sent a report that there is troop movement in that place of a kind that we think they are planning something big. We even use the word war, a quick war, because they had moved troops from peace locations, from Mangla, from Gujranwala, and I think Lahore, up to POK. So we assessed that something is going to happen. Now you don't know at that stage what is going to happen. This is a sort of half-yearly assessment that this is what has been happening the past few months, and now we are ready. We surmise from this that they are planning something. This report was not accepted.
What do you mean not accepted?
They said no, it can't be.
So who does that? Is it the political leadership or is
RAW is the agency that has supplied the information. We make a recommendation. That's where it ends.
Okay.
That is for the political masters or the consumers to decide what to do with that information. If they say it can't be, what else can I say? 6 months later, we gave another review in I think April 99, saying that their intentions are aggressive. Okay. During the same period, this last like 8-9 months, the Northern Command had reported a 9-fold increase in the vehicular movement in that area.
Pakistan vehicular movement.
That again is a indicator. It's a battle indicator. Tum kyun itna, why are
so
you
obviously
moving?
ordnance was being moved.
Ordnance was being moved.
Man and machine.
Troops were being moved.
Yeah.
Something was being moved. Then one colonel